Your savings app did exactly what it promised. It moved money before you could spend it. It built your emergency fund. It gave you a clean dashboard, green progress bars, and that nice feeling that your financial life was finally running itself. Then one day, your checking account drops too low. Not because you were careless, not because the app failed, but because the system optimized one thing, saving money, while missing another thing, cash flow timing. That is the strange side of automated savings. It can make you more disciplined and less aware at the same time. So this is not a video about whether automation is good or bad. It is about how much control you hand over and whether you still understand what the autopilot is doing. Because autopilot is useful, but only if you still know where it is flying. There are 5 levels of automation: the manual saver, the rule-based saver, the algorithmic envelope, the AI-assisted cash flow, and the fully automated household. Each level gives you more convenience and asks for more trust in return. The question is not which level is best. The question is which level matches the life you are actually running. Level 1, the manual saver. At the first level, everything depends on whether you remember. You get paid. You open your banking app. You look at the checking balance and tell yourself, okay, this time I'm going to move money before I touch it. Maybe you transfer some of it. Maybe you wait because rent is coming. Maybe you forget because the day gets busy. And then, a week later, the money is somehow gone. Not in one dramatic moment. Not because you bought one crazy thing. It dissipates through groceries, gas, subscriptions, school expenses, takeout, and all the tiny charges that do not feel dangerous when they happen, one at a time. And the hardest part is that it feels personal. You start thinking the problem is you. You are not disciplined enough. You are not focused enough. You need to get your act together. But most of the time, manual saving is not a character test. It is a poorly designed operating system. You are asking your brain to do the same boring job over and over again. Every single payday, while life is already throwing 100 other things at you. You have to remember to save, decide how much to move, check what bills are coming, guess what you might need, and then fight the feeling that maybe you should wait until next week. That is a lot. The Federal Reserve reported that 63% of adults said they could cover a hypothetical $400 emergency. Using cash, savings, or a credit card they could pay off right away. That means a large share of people can handle a small shock. But it also means plenty of households are still close enough to the edge. That one surprise bill can turn into stress fast. So when you forget to save, it does not always mean you are lazy. Sometimes it means the system depends too much on you being perfectly alert. Manual saving feels responsible because you touch every decision. But touching every decision is also why you get tired. So the next level begins when you stop asking your memory to do the job of a switch. Level 2, the rule-based saver. At level 2, the decision happens before your move gets involved. Every paycheck, a fixed amount moves out of checking before you can spend it. Maybe it is $250, maybe it is $100. Maybe it is smaller than that. The number is not the point. The point is that the rule runs even when you are distracted, tired, or tempted. If you get paid every 2 weeks, $250 per paycheck adds up to about $6,500 a year. That is not some viral money hack. It is not secret rich people knowledge. It is just a boring rule that keeps repeating. And boring is underrated. At this level, you start to feel relief. You no longer have to negotiate with yourself every payday. You do not have to stare at the balance and decide whether future you deserves money more than present you wants comfort. The transfer just happens in the background. This is where automation starts to feel like invisible discipline. And this is not some tiny corner of finance anymore. The FDIC found that in 2023, 90.7% of banked households used mobile, online, or telephone banking at least once to access their accounts. For most people, the bank already lives in the phone. So the question is not whether technology is part of your money life. It already is. The question is how much authority you give it. But level 2 has a catch. A fixed rule does not know what kind of month you are having. It does not know the car needed repairs. It does not know your hours changed. It does not know a medical bill landed early. It does not know groceries got expensive again. Or that 3 annual subscriptions hit in the same week. It only knows the rule. So the trade-off here is flexibility. You get consistency, but you lose some room to improvise. If the rule is sized well, it gives you stability. If the rule is too aggressive, it starts to feel like your own bank account is putting you on a leash. That is where people get automation wrong. They think set it and forget it means they should never look again. But an automatic transfer is not a tattoo. It is a setting. You are allowed to change it. The deeper story is that you built a system where the better decision happens before decision fatigue shows up. But a fixed rule only knows when to move money. It does not know what that money is supposed to do. Level 3, the algorithmic envelope. At this level, your money is not just moving. It is being sorted. You have buckets: emergency fund, vacation, car repair, annual insurance, property taxes, holiday spending. Maybe there is a green progress bar. Maybe one bucket says 47% funded. Another says you are almost there. Another gives you that tiny dopamine hit because the number is finally going up. And honestly, this can be a big step forward. Instead of one messy checking account where every dollar looks the same, your money now has labels. You are no longer asking, do I have money? You are asking, what is this money for? That is a better question. But here is the catch. Bucket clarity is not the same as cash flow clarity. You can have 5 beautiful savings buckets and still not have enough money in checking when the rent hits. You can have an emergency fund growing in a high yield savings account and still feel broke at the grocery checkout. You can be doing the right thing on paper while your actual cash flow feels tight in real life. This is where automated savings starts to mess with your head. The dashboard says you are winning. The checking account says, not today. The Federal Reserve reported that in 2024, 55% of adults had set aside money for 3 months of expenses in an emergency savings or rainy day fund. That is a strong goal. But emergency savings is not just about the amount. It is also about access, timing, and whether the money is in the right place when life asks for it. This is also where the anti-FOMO message matters. You do not need to put your whole financial life on autopilot to be responsible. Seriously, you do not need the fanciest app, the smartest tool, or some fintech ad come to life. For many households, level 2 or level 3 is already a mature place to stop. 1 automatic transfer, 1 high yield savings account, 1 checking buffer, and 1 weekly review. That is not basic, that is solid. The point is not to automate everything. The point is to automate the parts you keep forgetting, while still watching the parts that can hurt you if they go wrong. A good envelope system hides temptation. A dangerous one hides information. And once the app stops just holding envelopes and starts predicting your future, you enter a different kind of cockpit. Level 4, the AI-assisted cash flow. At level 4, the tool is not just following rules. It is watching patterns. It forecasts bills. It studies spending. It notices when income usually arrives. It looks for money that seems unused. And then it sweeps that money into savings when it thinks the coast is clear. This is the level that feels the most futuristic. It is also where the story from the beginning becomes real. Your app saved you money, maybe a lot of money. It found small windows where cash looked available. It moved that cash before you spent it. It helped you build an emergency fund without having to think about it every day. It made saving feel less emotional and more automatic. Then one month the timing gets weird. A rent payment is pending. A credit card payment posts earlier than usual. Groceries cost more than expected. A family expense does not fit the pattern. The autopilot sees idle cash, but you know that money is already spoken for. Or worse, you do not know until the alert hits. Low balance, transfer completed, payment pending. That is the moment automation stops feeling smooth and starts feeling a little too powerful. But this does not mean the tool is evil. It is not sitting there plotting against you. It is doing what tools do, optimizing based on the information it can see. The problem is that your life contains information the app may not see yet. A pending charge, a weird paycheck, a school expense, a repair. A bill that always posts at the worst time. A psychological buffer you need because seeing checking drop below a certain number makes you feel unsafe, even if the math technically works. That last part matters more than people admit. Personal finance is not just math. It is timing, access, stress, and trust. The CFPB reported that combined bank overdraft and NSF fee revenue was $5.83 billion in 2023. That was much lower than before the pandemic. But it still shows something important. Checking account timing mistakes are not rare little accidents. They are part of the real banking landscape. So at level 4, the trade-off is privacy and timing risk. The tool needs more data to make better guesses. But the more you rely on its guesses, the more you need guardrails, a minimum checking floor, a delay before transfers, a rule that blocks sweeps before rent week, and a manual review whenever income or expenses change. Here is the counterintuitive part. This level is more advanced, but not automatically safer. Optimization is not the same as safety. Sometimes it just moves the risk to a place you stopped watching. Level 5, the fully automated household. When automation stops being a savings tool and becomes the operating system for the whole household, you reach level 5. At this level, money routes itself. Bills get paid. Cash moves to high yield savings. Debt payments go out. Retirement contributions happen. Credit cards get paid. Sinking funds grow. Your financial life looks organized, maybe even impressive. And to be clear, this can be great. There is nothing noble about manually doing every repetitive task forever. If a system can pay the bill on time, move the saving, avoid late fees, and reduce stress, that is real value. Automation can give people breathing room. It can turn good intentions into default behavior. It can protect you from the chaos of a busy life. But the hidden cost is understanding. When everything works, you feel calm. When something breaks, you have to remember how the machine is built. Why did that transfer happen first? Why did the debt payment go out before the checking buffer refilled? Why is the high yield savings account growing while the main account feels tight? Why did the app treat this cash as available when you knew a bill was coming? The surface story is sophistication. The deeper story is whether you can still explain your system in plain English. That is the real test of level 5. Not whether your setup looks clean. Not whether every dollar has a bucket. Not whether the app gives you a satisfying chart at the end of the month. The real test is this. If the autopilot made a strange move tomorrow, would you know where to look? Because a fully automated household still needs one manual skill, knowing when to take the wheel. So no, the lesson is not delete your savings app. That is too simple. And for a lot of people, it would be bad advice. The lesson is do not automate confusion. If your app helped you save thousands of dollars and still left checking too low, the problem was not that saving is bad. The problem was that the system optimized one goal while missing another. It protected your future balance, but stressed your present cash flow. So here is the 7-day reset. First, set a checking floor. Decide the number your checking account should not fall below after automatic transfers. Not your dream number, your real life safety number. Second, automate one habit. Maybe it is $250 per paycheck. Maybe it is $50. The amount matters less than whether the rule can survive a normal messy month. Third, schedule one review. Once a week, open the app for 10 minutes. Not to shame yourself, not to micromanage every dollar, just to understand what the autopilot is doing. And then we end where this usually begins, with you ignoring a calendar reminder to move money. Before, that felt like proof you lacked discipline. Now it means something different. It means that part of your financial life is asking for better design. Automate the habit, not your awareness. Autopilot can fly the route. You still decide when to take the wheel.